everyone. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a great start to your day so far. Today, we're going to be bringing in all the sights and smells and colors of fall. So, as you can see, I have a lot of things in the works here in my studio. So it's a bit of a mess, but I'm all ready and organized for you today because we're going to go through a really great project that you can whip up rather quickly, and it utilizes a lot of your scrap fabrics. So we love those things. I'm just making sure that we're on the right channel here. So here we go. There's everybody. I had a little bit of a delay today, so I hope the stream is coming through for you okay. All right, now everyone's saying hello. Hello, Gail. All right. Yeah, we're having a sunny day here in Colorado as well, but the temperatures are dropping a little bit, and it's that happy medium between, 60, 70 degrees, and, we might actually get a fall before we jump right into winter, so that's exciting. Fall is my favorite time of year because of all the trees changing color and the pumpkin fests and the Halloween parties and all that good stuff. And, thankfully we're getting a little bit back to normal here, or the new normal, so we can enjoy those things again that we so missed doing last year. So before we get started, I want to mention that we're having a few great sales today. First up is our Countdown to Christmas sale. And for a week only, now this has been going on for a little while, so tomorrow is the last day. But we have our Christmas Countdown calendar kit, on sale for like the craziest price. 50% off. And you're going to get all these great art gallery fabric prints that really take you from Christmas all the way through however long your winter lasts. Because instead of those traditional red and green colors, you've got these navies and turquoise and white, and it's all snowy, and it's a really, really cute project. You will get the quilt pattern included with purchase of your kit. That's another $5 added on to that value. And you will get free admittance into our Countdown to Christmas video cast. So I did this video cast back in July for our Christmas in July video tutorial, and you will get to experience that for free. So we're waiving the $5.99 fee that would normally cost, and you will be able to create this with video instruction and finish it in no time. Now, that design on the calendar kit is done with machine embroidery. So it's a machine embroidery cross-stitch design, that little December calendar. And it comes with this magnetic marker that you will also create so that you can count down the days and move that little marker, onto that day of December leading up until Christmas. Now, if you don't have an embroidery machine, you can also complete that by hand. So the same thread in the kit can be used for hand or machine embroidery. So if you get started now and you're doing the handwork, you can definitely finish it in time to put it up for December 1st. So take that out. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say check that out and grab it at 50% off. Also, enjoy the fall savings. We have 35% off select threads and stabilizer assortments right now, and this sale is good until the 25th, ends at midnight on October 25th. So 35% off, like this is as good as it gets, you guys. I've seen 30%, that kit's 50% off. We are really celebrating fall here at Sulky of America. So grab up some poly sparkle thread, filaine, really cool acrylic thread, and all metallics, plus those really great stabilizer assortment bundles, all 35% off. All right, so now that I've taken care of that business, Before we get to the pillow, I wanted to quickly show off these Halloween buckets because I talked about these last week very briefly, and a number of you purchased them. It's a blank, and it's a treat bucket for trick-or-treating, so you could personalize this for the littles in your life that are going to go out trick-or-treating, or you can use this to greet trick-or-treaters on Halloween night. Fill it up with your candy, greet them at the door, embroider Happy Halloween or some cute little candy designs on the little cuff. So I talked about these last week and a number of you purchased them, and then you sent me messages and said, hey, how do we embroider this? So I thought I would give you a little bit of an overview for how to embroider the treat bucket blank. We still have some of these at sulky.com. These are the different varieties. So you can get this polka dot, you can get black polka dot with orange, or you can get that really cute little striped. So if you've got, 3 kids, 3 grandkids, they can all get a different style, and you can personalize them for each one of the kids. They'll bring it out every single year. I promise you it'll be like the most special little heirloom project that they will absolutely love getting out year over year. So anyways, we still have these at sulky.com. If you grab them up now, you can still embroider this before Halloween. We're about 2 weeks out, and it's a really quick and easy embroidery project because all we have to do is get it on the hoop and embroider our design. So you can choose any design you like. Of course, you can just choose a lettering design and do a name or a monogram, or like I said, a cute candy design. If you grab up this Halloween embroidery palette at sulky.com, it comes with 10 spools of thread that are all those great Halloween colors. And it also comes with 8 Halloween themed designs. So there's Boo, there's a witch's hat, there's bats, all kinds of pumpkins. So you can use this thread palette and then you'll get these 8 great designs that you can put on to your treat bucket. So that is an option. Now, for embroidering this, you need to use Sulky Sticky Plus Stabilizer. Sticky Plus is an adhesive-backed tearaway stabilizer. And that's going to allow us to secure this into the hoop without actually hooping it, because we would not be able to get this thick canvas, and this is a lot of layers here, secured in the hoop itself. So we are going to do what I call hoopless embroidery. Yes, we're still using the hoop, but we're not going to actually hoop the item itself. Instead, we're going to hoop a rectangle or square, depending on the hoop that you're using, of the Sticky Plus only. So I have that in the hoop here so I can show you. See how I've only hooped the stabilizer and I have the paper side facing up. So the back side of it feels just like a tearaway stabilizer, but it's got adhesive underneath this paper backing. So now we have to expose that paper backing so that we can stick our treat bucket to it. So first and foremost, some people are always asking me about hooping. How tight should it be? That type of thing. So when you're hooping stabilizer only, it actually can be super duper tight because you're not going to have the stretching of the fabric, which causes puckering and those kind of ugly embroidery results. So get this as tight as you can. And anything I ever hoop, once I get it all secured in the hoop, I slightly push my inner hoop ring just beyond the outer hoop ring. And that, not so much that it's going to interfere with the hoop movement on the machine, but just ever so much. Can you see that? It's just raised ever so slightly. And that just gives me the extra security and the extra sort of tightness that I want with my stabilizer. I even do that with fabric. My only exception would probably be if I'm doing a t-shirt or knit fabric. But even then, I stabilize that very well before it goes into the hoop so there's no stretching. And I give it just that little slight push. I've learned that over the years from a couple of different embroidery instructors. Lisa Archer is one I can think of now that also does that technique. And I just find that it's just that little extra something that makes for a better looking stitch out. All right, so along with the Sticky Plus, we have the Sulky Sticky Plus slitting pen. I've talked about this a lot on So What, so many of you are probably already aware of it. Many of you I know have already grabbed one up from sulky.com. This little pen has a very sharp point on it. See how sharp the point is? The cool thing about it is it slices through this paper backing without slicing through the stabilizer underneath. So it's a great tool to have when you do a lot of blanks or t-shirts or things you cannot put in the hoop and you need to use Sticky Plus stabilizer. So these are relatively inexpensive. Grab one of these up. Comes with this handy little sleeve so that you always kind of know where it is. I keep this always next to me in my cute little thimble organizer. These are also at sulky.com. We have rose gold and I believe a silver one, or maybe it's gold. But at any rate, I keep this right next to my machine and next to my workspace all the time. And I have all my little go-to fabric markers, my little snips that I love so much, and the slitting pen. So I always know where these little things are because they can easily get lost in this chaos, as you can imagine. Anyway, to use the slitting pen, now you might be familiar with using just a regular stick pin to slice through the paper to reveal your adhesive on the stabilizer. And that's fine and good. I've done that for years. I did that before I knew this existed. But that pin is even sharper than this little point, and you can really slice through that stabilizer really easily. And you never really want to use scissors to score the paper backing. You really just run the risk of slicing right through the stabilizer, and then you'll have to patch it together or trash it and use another piece, and your precious stabilizer, is just not as effective as it once was. So with the pin, it's a little bit harder to, let's say, just remove the center where your design's going to go. So I find with a pin, I've got to remove the whole sheet of paper, and that exposes all the adhesive inside the inner hoop ring. With this, you can get really exact, and you can use your design template to kind of map out where the design's going to go. Let's say for this, we're going to put Happy Halloween across the front of it. So I'm probably going to have to fit that vertically in the hoop in order to fit, right? So for accuracy, I can score this using my little grid lines on the paper backing, and I can score along just where the design's going to go with maybe a little bit of overhang so that my bucket will be able to be stuck to the stabilizer as well. And that gives me a little bit of leeway as far as if I want to do 2 stitch outs, then I can move my design, to the left or right and patch in a piece of Sticky Plus. I try to get at least 2 stitch outs done with 1 hooping of Sticky Plus by using extra and patching it in. So that's a really great benefit of using that slitting pen. And I'll show you. I went a little off the rails on one side of this, but I got a pretty clean rectangle exposed. So now you can see this part is nice and sticky and tacky, and I can place my treat bucket right here where it's going to be embroidered. So When you are using almost any kind of blank, you pretty much always need to turn it so that the wrong side is out, so that you can access the right side on your hoop. So this is really no exception. Now, this canvas bag has kind of a nylon lining, and that does not come out, but it's actually going to be fine if you see the wrong side of the embroidery. All you need to do is make sure that you're using a black bobbin thread, and it's going to be virtually inconspicuous on the inside of the bag. So we're going to take this and put it so it's wrong side out. And you can see it's a pretty good quality bag for being a blank. All of these seams are bound with this nice sort of seam tape. So nothing is exposed inside here. All right, so I have it almost wrong side out. And of course, you're going to want to embroider on the side opposite the seam. This will be our back so that it doesn't interfere with our embroidery. So you will mark the center of your design. I'll just fold it in half and kind of put a wonder clip right here so I know that's going to be the center of my design on the front side of the bag. You'll take your Sticky Plus where you have that rectangle of stickiness and center your bag on that sticky area. I have matched up that wonder clip with the notch on my hoop, the hoop cross mark, because sometimes if you go to center your bag in the hoop without using that cross mark as a guide, that's actually not the center of your design. Center point of your embroidery where it's notched out on the hoop is where you want to align it. So also make sure that your inner hoop is facing the correct side. So for example, mine says Husqvarna Viking along the top, and along the bottom is the hoop size. If I had this reversed so that Husqvarna Viking was upside down, then my hoop cross marks are not going to be in the right spot according to my machine screen. Does that make sense? All right, so now we have our hoop, or excuse me, our bag is on the hoop. Now, how are we going to get the needle in there, right? When we put this on the machine, we're going to smush that bag away from the part that's going to be embroidered. You can really smush it far away and press it down so that only this portion is exposed when you put it on the hoop. And notice that the bulk of this can go either way. So it can go, well, mine can fit within the machine arm. If your machine arm does not have enough clearance, rotate your design and put the bulk of the bag on the outside, facing your embroidery unit. Then you'll embroider the design. When it is complete, also make sure you stick with it while it's embroidering, because you may have to stop and start so that if you notice that your needle is nearing one side or the other and the bulk of the bag might get caught in the stitching, simply stop the machine, readjust, pull that side out of the way, and continue that portion of the design, stop again, and move the opposite end of the bag away from the needle. Does that make sense? So once that is complete, you will simply lift this up and your tearaway stabilizer is going to come with it, leaving basically this hole right in your hooped stabilizer. Then you can remove the excess stabilizer around the bobbin threads, clean it up, clip your jump threads, and you're done. And your project is complete, and you have the cutest little, Pottery Barn style bag for a fraction of the cost. So, not to mention you really get to personalize it and have fun with it. And again, really cute gift for the littles that are trick-or-treating, or simply a great addition to your Halloween decor. You know, everybody wants a cute little treat bag that they can greet the trick-or-treaters with on Halloween night. And another thing I like about this, if you want to keep your distance from those kids, but you still want to be able to offer them something on Halloween night, have you guys seen this? You can use this little handle, put your broom on it, and you can kind of extend it out to the kids so that you're still 6 feet away from them. They get to pick their treat. You can bring it on back inside and wait for the next people to ring your doorbell. So I like that it has that handle on it for that purpose. All right, so I hope you guys got the overview of that. Again, they're telling me we have a really limited stock of the bucket bags now. So apparently you are buying them up. So that's great. I saw those. I thought they were so cute. And a number of you, you know, like I said, asked me about, okay, so I bought it, like you said, now what do I do with it? So grab up the Sticky Plus. When you grab that up, grab up some black bobbin thread if you don't have some already, because you really want black on the inside so that it matches that part of the bag. And then grab up that Halloween machine embroidery palette. You'll get some new cute designs and all of those beautiful threads, including some metallics. All right, so let's get to the project at hand, which is our pumpkin pillow. It is foundation paper pieced in the center to create that cute little pumpkin. So I have mine right here, and I will apologize in advance because I had it all nice and plump, but I've been taking it in and out to do some demos and take some extra photos for you today. So it's looking a little limp today, but you will stuff yours so that it's nice and plump. Right now, I only have a pillow insert, a pillow form inside. But normally, even if I'm using a pillow insert, I will take some extra batting, push it into the corners and edges to really plump that out and make it a nice full pillow. So we'll go over that as our last instruction for the pillow. But at any rate, this is a great quick project, utilizes scraps that you might have. Now for the back, it's an envelope style closure. See how I have an opening here? But it's almost inconspicuous when you look at it. So I really like doing pillows like this for holiday pillows because you can swap them out so easily. You can put an existing pillow that you normally use on your couch and just slip it into this cover for the fall season. Then when you get to holiday, just simply take it off, give it a wash, store it until next year, and you're good to go. So I love pillows for that, and I like to make them really easy construction. There's no zipper to be had here. Really, really quick and easy to assemble. And then you get to have fun with it and do some foundation paper piecing just for this center little focal point. And that really utilizes a lot of great scraps as well. You don't have to use solid fabrics for your pumpkin. You can use any shades of orange, reds, yellows, and create any kind of pumpkin or gourd that you want using the free pattern. I linked to the blog post, which then links over to the free project. You do need to have a sulky.com account to get the free paper piecing pattern. But there's a great bonus for doing that because then the pattern is stored in your account at sulky.com forever until you don't want an account anymore. And so if you ever lose it or you've downloaded it and you don't know where it is on your computer, you can always go back to your account and grab it from there, and you only have to download it that one time. So that's how you get the free pattern. And it's going to come with all the full instructions. So you don't have to write everything down that I'm saying. I'm not going to give you the dimensions of every fabric piece. That's all in with the pattern. It also comes with the foundation paper piecing page that you need to build your pumpkin onto. That's right. We're going to sew right through the paper as our pattern. So everyone's pumpkin is going to look perfect and exactly the same. Now, let's see. The paper piecing pattern, you want to print directly onto Sulky Paper Solvy. I know, Sulky has a water-soluble paper. It's very thin and you can print directly onto it. So if you've never used Paper Solvy before and you like to paper piece, or you've never done paper piecing before, this is the project for you because this pumpkin comes together quite quickly and you can really get the hang of the paper piecing process and create this work of art out of fabric. And again, great scrap buster. Go through your scraps, grab anything that is remotely orange and break it out for this project. Okay, so here is a picture of the materials that I used. And that is what the paper piecing pattern will look like once you've printed it onto the Paper Solvy. And speaking of Paper Solvy, that is our giveaway today. So one lucky viewer who is watching the live stream today, commenting, liking, sharing, even if you watch it after the fact, you are eligible as long as you make a comment, question, like, love, all those great little emojis. Give them to me. Let's see them. As long as you're engaging with the post today, you're eligible for today's gift, which is a pack of Sulky Paper Solvy. You'll get 12 sheets included in the pack. And like I said, you print directly onto it. You can set your printer for the draft setting or the lowest ink setting because you don't need to saturate the paper. You really just need to be able to see the lines that you're going to stitch on. Those solid lines are your seam lines, okay? And then you can see there's numbers on all the pieces that you will be adding to create your pumpkin. So those numbers are the order in which you're going to sew and piece together that pumpkin. So along with that pattern and the Paper Solvy, you need your fabric scraps. You want to make sure they're large enough to cover those pieces on the pattern. So I kind of audition my fabrics before I even cut that pattern because we're going to be creating the pumpkin in 2 halves. We're going to work with 1 half, then the other half, then we're going to sew those together. So I kind of audition my fabric scraps, make sure they're large enough to cover those pieces, and then I know that I'm all set and I can move forward. You will also obviously need some thread. My favorite thread for paper piecing is the Sulky 50 weight cotton thread. It's a nice lightweight thread, and actually for any piecing, whether it's paper piecing or just regular piecing with my sewing machine. The 50 weight thread is lightweight but really strong, okay? So when you are piecing through a couple of layers plus that paper layer, it still creates a nice lightweight seam line. So when you go to press your work, it's almost undetectable that there's thread in there. You know, sometimes you'll put your hand across a quilt and you feel those little bumps where the seams are. That's because the thread is a little bit heavier weight. So you can actually feel the thread inside of those seams. So with this 50 weight cotton thread, you can run your hand across an entire quilt and barely, if not at all, feel those little telltale kind of seam line lumps, if you will. So that 50 weight thread, we have a great Haunting Halloween 6-pack palette of the 50 weight thread. We also have a Neutrals 6-pack, and either one of those could work for this project. I'm showing you a larger spool of that thread. If you get a 6-pack assortment, you'll get the smaller snap spools, this size. So just note, in my image here, I used one of the king spools, and you certainly can go for those as well if you want to just get kind of a mid-range orange that's going to go with the rest of your project. You can get a larger spool. All right. So first things first, we're going to cut the pattern now that we have determined that we have enough fabric scraps that are large enough to piece together our pumpkin. And like I said, we're going to piece this pumpkin together in halves. So you will cut along that outer line of each half and decide which one you want to work with. We're going to work with the left side of the pumpkin here in the demo. Then we'll do the exact same thing with the right side. Then we're going to sew along that center seam to join them and create the pumpkin. So cut that apart, not the individual pieces, just the two halves. All right, and now the paper piecing begins. With our very first seam, we're going to take our fabric scrap for piece 1 and our fabric scrap for piece 2. Now, the first fabric scrap is going to be right side up on your flat work surface. And again, you want to make sure that it's large enough that it covers piece 1 plus seam allowance. Okay? You don't want to abut your fabric edge against the seam line. You want to account for seam allowance. So use a much bigger piece than you think you're going to need. Then you'll take your second fabric scrap wrong side up over the first. Okay, so right sides are facing. You've got fabric 2 facing up, or excuse me, fabric 2 is on top, fabric 1 on the bottom. Then you're going to put your paper piecing pattern on top of fabric 2. Now we're going to sew along the line between 1 and 2. And you can backstitch a tiny little bit if you want. If you're using that 50 weight thread, it's not going to add too much bulk. Or you could sew a little bit beyond where the line begins and ends. Now you're going to press open those pieces. You really want to have a pressing station next to your sewing machine. I find that that is the most efficient way to do paper piecing, especially when you're working with these tiny little or small little seams, right? We didn't sew very much, maybe 2 inches for this first seam. So going from your sewing machine down to your pressing station, back to your sewing machine, because pressing is very important with paper piecing. So now you can see our paper is wrong side up because we've turned it around to press along that seam. Now we need to trim up those pieces that we just added. So see how I have my seam allowance here? I fold the paper back along the seam line, and then I trim along the seam allowance for piece 1, and then I'm going to trim along the seam allowance for piece 2. So now I've got my first portion of the pattern sewn, and I'm just going to move along to add piece 3, then 4, then 5, pressing and trimming as I go with each piece. So you can see here, I've got that half of the pumpkin sewn up. Everything is trimmed with that outer edge, and we're ready to do the opposite side of the pumpkin. So see how it's nice and trimmed up and ready for that other side. I love using that small ruler. It's a 1x5 ruler. I love that for little paper piecing projects. You can go in, use your rotary cutter, quickly and easily, trim up those seam allowances as you go. And we have those rulers at sulky.com. If you don't have one, I have 3 of them. I have one by my iron, one by my sewing machine. I use it for a seam gauge. They're like my favorite things. All right. So now here is the opposite side of my pumpkin. And I'm just showing again how I'm trimming and folding back that paper along the seam I just sewed, trimming that seam allowance so it's even and nice, and then you can keep on going. There's that seam when I fold it back, just so that you can see kind of how the work is progressing. All right, so now we've got our 2 sides of the pumpkin. And again, the pattern goes into detail about this process. So you'll get the hang of what's right side, wrong side, all kinds of, as you're building out your pumpkin. And you can see there's smaller little brown print fabric pieces that I used, and those are the border of the pumpkin as you're building it so that you have a nice rectangle piece when you are finished, and then you can add your borders of the pillow rather easily. Now, there's another project where this pattern kind of originated, and it was a tote bag, and this paper pieced pumpkin became the front pocket for the tote bag. So it's in this perfect rectangular shape. If you want to turn this into a pocket, or even make a pocket pillow, that would be kind of cute to have this centerpiece actually be a pocket. Put little love notes in there, little fall leaves, something like that to keep the kids busy. At any rate, it creates this nice finished rectangle for this focal point of your pillow, or you could turn this into a table runner. Lots of different ways you can repurpose this actual paper pieced pumpkin portion. Oh my gosh, a lot of peas. A lot of different ways you can repurpose this, make it into a mug rug and just use that paper piece pumpkin pattern with a smaller border, or with just a bound edge and, some batting. Add some quilting to it. Turn it into mug rugs and gift those away. Or create some, larger coasters. Create some larger placemats. Things like that. You could enlarge this pattern and isolate each side so that each side of the pumpkin fits on an 11 by 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You'd have to kind of enlarge it on your printer screen, and then set your printer to print it on 2 pages. And then you'd have a larger pumpkin you could create into a placemat, or like I said, table runner or quilt or something like that. All right. So here we are sewing those 2 halves together. There's a line on the pattern and it says 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you'll sew along that center line, matching them up. Notice how they don't match perfectly, because when you go to fold it out, it'll be a perfect rectangle. So I just wanted you to see that you don't want to put them right sides facing and align all of your edges. The only edge you're going to align is that center edge to join the 2 halves. All right, and there she is. So you'll press that really well. And with Paper Solvy, you have a couple of different options for removal, okay? And you can do a combination of the 2 as well. Now, along that center seam line, we have a lot more layers of fabric and Paper Solvy to contend with, because we have folded that seam allowance and pressed it open. So now we've got 2 layers of Paper Solvy along the center. You could see how it's kind of bubbling up or kind of poofing out along that center seam line. So I like to just remove the Paper Solvy along that seam allowance. The rest of it, I totally keep in the project until all of my pillow is complete. I don't have any raw edges anymore. Everything is contained in the inside of the pillow, and then you can throw it in the wash and the Paper Solvy will dissolve. Now, if you don't want to do that, or you want to remove some more of the stabilizer, you can remove the larger pieces of stabilizer. They get a little bit perforated while you're sewing, so you can kind of gently tear them away. But with a more intricate Paper Solvy or foundation paper piecing project, some of those pieces are so tiny that you're adding into the work. Those mini quilts and micro quilts that are super small, and you use really small pieces of fabric. That is so wonderful for paper piecing, because you can leave it in until the entire thing is done. Now, if I was going to add quilting to this, or let's say I wanted to put Happy Fall in machine embroidery over the top of the pieced pumpkin, which would be really cute, and why didn't I think of that before? If you want to do that, leave the Paper Solvy in there until everything is complete, because it's really just going to help stabilize that portion of your project, especially if you're adding borders and then quilting and batting and things like that. It's really going to help keep all of your seams nice and flat everything flat and stabilized. And if you do free motion or machine embroidery over the top, then you'll have that additional layer of stabilizer that is ultimately going to wash away as if it was never there. All right, so once you do either your stabilizer removal or you remove some bulk from that seam line, you'll start adding your borders. So I use that same border fabric around the pumpkin, those little triangles, for my innermost border of the pillow. And that way, those little pieces that you add in the paper piecing process, they really blend in to the borders of the pillow. Now, before I move on, there have been some questions, so I want to address those, and then we'll go to finishing the pumpkin. Carla likes the idea of happy fall. You could say happy fall, y'all, or something. So, very cute. What color thread do you recommend? So, we have a Halloween palette, which is a 6-pack of thread in that 50 weight cotton that I recommend. And it comes with orange and gray and purple and black, all of the great Halloween colors. And you could just choose that orange thread color and work your way through the pumpkin. And then if you want to switch to a neutral, depending on what colors you use for your borders, you can easily swap the thread colors using that palette. And you'll have, 6 great colors to choose from as you work your way through the pillow. You could also just grab up our 6-pack neutrals 50 weight cotton assortment. And that has a lot of great creams, grays, tans, your go-to neutral colors, and use that for building the pillow. Now, if you're going to add quilting, you might want to get a little more decorative, and I will go over that momentarily. Okay. Would you discourage using pattern fabric for the pieced pumpkin? Absolutely not. You can definitely go with a print fabric. Dive into your stash and see what you have. Anything in the orange family is going to look cute, even yellow or a reddish burnt orange, and you can create different types of gourds. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pumpkin. You can even probably do this all in reds or all in greens and pass it off as an apple. And that would be so cute. You could create that for a cider days or a happy harvest type pillow, or even put some kind of message for a teacher on there. And that would be a great holiday gift for them, an apple for teacher, because it looks very similar to an apple, in my opinion. And depending on your fabric choices, you could pass that off as an apple, no problem, especially if you got some teacher themed fabrics, pencils, chalkboards, apples, stuff like that. Everyone would buy into that as well. So prints, solids, everything works for this. I would just really stay with a quilting cotton weight. All right. Tote bag is a cute idea. All right. And yes, a good way to make a larger complex design by having the pattern. Halving, I know. And yes, Kathy, it is a great beginner project for paper piecing. So whether you've done paper piecing before or you want to give it a go, you could see these pieces are rather large that you're working with. The center pieces of the pumpkin, these are actually 2 different oranges. I don't know if you can tell, it's pretty subtle, especially on camera. So 1, 2, 3, 4 colors or patterns for the main portion of the pumpkin, and rather large pieces that you're working with. I have done some foundation paper piecing patterns where, like I said, the pieces they end up extremely tiny once you trim them away and trim them up along the seam lines. So you can get really intricate, you could create the Mona Lisa out of fabric and no one would know that you're using this paper design and building onto it with different shades for faces or animals. And that's why I really love paper piecing, because it almost feels like I'm cheating because, you're really just following the lines and sewing and pressing and trimming and sewing and pressing and trimming. So you'll get the hang of it, and this is great for a beginner or advanced sewers alike. If you are a little bit more advanced, you'll finish this in no time, and then you can add quilting or embroidery or make it your own and add those more complicated techniques to it. All right, add a couple of turkeys and it would make a great Thanksgiving table runner. Absolutely. So if you wanted to do that, you could create this first border and then, add those side borders as well. There we go. So now we've got the side borders and then our next layer of borders. You could leave those off, create a couple of these, maybe make them face different directions. I like to do that on a table runner because, some people are sitting on this side of the table. Some people are sitting on that side of the table. So you can have a pumpkin facing this way, pumpkin facing the other way. You get the idea. Add some turkey embroideries or something like that, or some leaves, or some free motion quilting with vines and curly cues, and really add to the project using something that doesn't take that much more time either. That's the great thing about this, is you can really finish this in an afternoon, depending on how long you want your table runner to go. So I think this center part of the pillow with the first layer of borders or first row of borders, if you duplicated that a couple of times, maybe 3 or 4 times, that would be a good table runner size. All right. So many good ideas to extend the pattern. Excellent. I'm so happy you said that. That was my goal for today, was to show you this method for the pillow and then give you ideas for other things you can make with it as well. Let's say you want to do this pillow this season, and then next year you use the same pattern, you make a table runner. Ultimately, you'll have this really coordinated decor for the fall season. So lots of different ways to really make this your own. All right, so then we have our next row of borders added. You'll do your strips along the top and bottom, and then on the sides. And then if you can keep going and add as many borders as you want. Make this into a wall hanging and say, the March Family Thanksgiving 2021, something like that embroidered onto it would be really cute as well. And then here is our final border that is added. So what I wanted to do was figure out a way to bring in that yellow color that I added to the pumpkin, because after I pieced it together, it looked a little bit stark to me. Like it was very noticeable that I added that yellow, even though I really wanted it in the pumpkin. So I found this other yellow print in my stash. It was actually left over from a summer project where I used all yellows and I made this really cool sun out of fabric, a sun applique. So thinking about your stash in different ways, even though that's a fabric that I used for a summer project, I was able to bring it into this fall project as well, and it just coordinated beautifully somehow. So really dive into your stash and say, like, look, even though this has this kind of print on it, or maybe it's a print with, grass or trees, that could be really cool in the way that you cut it. Let's say you cut it on the bias. It no longer looks like grass anymore. It just looks like a green striped fabric that now you have cut on the bias to create your border strips. Now, you don't have to create the borders on the bias, but just thinking about things in a different way. If I had cut that yellow striped fabric on the bias, I would have a totally different kind of candy striper look to that last border. So don't be afraid to go into even add a floral print to this, it could work. All right, so now we need to make our backing. And like I said, it's an envelope style closure. And when I make an envelope pillow, I like to have a really wide border for the pieces that overlap. And I don't really know why that is, but I guess it just gives me more of a finished look. If you happen to get a glance inside the pillow, if you're sitting in a different chair or something, see how it looks like the whole inside of that piece is lined. And that's because I gave it a really wide border. But really, you could see the wrong side of the fabric is inside there. So I didn't have to line each one of these pieces. I just make about maybe a 2 3/4 inch border along both sides of the envelope closure. And it just gives you a little bit more of a finished look. Like I said, if you happen to look inside there or you see a little gap, you don't want to see the pillow form inside, and you don't really want to see the wrong side of the fabric. So make sure you choose, 2 pieces of fabric. You might have to get some yardage if you don't have it in your stash. And we're going to overlap them once we've hemmed that one edge, the edge that's going to be along a little bit offset from the center along the back of the pillow. So after you hem those edges, you simply overlap them, place them right sides facing as though they are one piece of fabric. So disregard me saying right sides facing because I was getting ahead of myself. You'll put the 2 fabrics both right side up and baste the perimeter so that now those 2 fabrics for the envelope closure are now acting as one. Then you will put that right sides facing the front of your pillow. Everybody following me? All right, give me a thumbs up if you're following so that I know. And if you prefer zippers, by all means, use a zipper. It's completely up to you. Like someone said, very simple pattern, so you can really make this the way you want to make it. All right, so as you can see, I have pinned along the entire perimeter. I've got my 2 fabrics layered for the back. I've got my front and then pin along the perimeter, and then we're simply going to sew it. Now, I sew the whole perimeter, and you don't have to leave an opening for turning because you have that envelope closure. So the whole perimeter looks nice and finished. You don't have a weird spot where you went to hand sew it and then it dips in a little bit or something looks a little off. That's also why I like an envelope closure, or like someone said, a zipper closure. So now at each corner, I clip the corners close to, but not touching that stitching line. And this is going to give us a nice corner. Now to take it even a step further with the corner, I like to kind of crisscross my stitching a little bit above that corner point. And that sort of tapers each corner's point. That way, when we go to turn it right side out, it actually looks nice and square. It's going to feel, when you're sewing this, that you're curving the edges. But what we're just doing is slightly tapering it so that we don't have those like dog ear pillow corners once we turn it right side out. So I kind of crisscross the stitching there along the corner. You can see it a little bit better there. And you can come in and trim a little bit closer to that new corner point if you want. I like to leave it trimmed at my first corner point just for better sort of reinforcement along those corners, but that's up to you as well. All right, so then you'll turn your work right side out and your pillow is complete. You really just need to put in your pillow form. And like I said at the beginning of the show, if you want to add some handfuls of batting along your corners and along your seam lines, that just kind of fills in where your pillow form sometimes can't reach, so that it's a nice, plump, good looking, professional looking pillow. So here's what that back envelope closure looks like. Like I said, I have that wide sort of cuff on the outer fabric as well as the inner fabric. And then that is where we turn it right side out, as well as where we insert our pillow form, or where you insert your existing pillow. Again, great way to use your existing pillows Just give them a new cover for the fall and then remove it, replace it with a holiday pillow cover, and you're good to go. And you don't have to have all these bulky holiday pillows that you've got to store somewhere. You've got your nice flat pillow covers that you can just fold up, put in a zip top bag, and say, see you next year. So then we have our finished pillow. Now, again, if you want to add quilting or machine embroidery, a great thing to do is grab up one of our 30 weight cotton blendables thread for quilting. If you want to add quilting or quilting details. So blendables thread have these random color patterns. Every 2.5 to 5 inches, it's going to change color. So you can add those little vine tendrils or free motion leaves, or, you know, you can quilt along the seams of this and really make it your own. Now, obviously, you will want to do that before you add your backing fabrics. I know, obviously. So before you trim up your corners, before you sew anything right sides together, once you have the borders that you want added, you'll put a little bit of batting along the back. And then you will also want like a muslin or something backing so that you can quilt through the batting and have that nice full texture with your quilting. Then you'll add your envelope style backing, sew around all sides, insert your pillow form, and you'll have this beautiful quilted front with your plain backing. And that would be really pretty. A great way to practice your free motion, because it's a small enough project that you can actually hold both sides of it and move it under the presser foot with a lot greater ease than, let's say, if you were working with a larger quilt. So this is a great way to also practice your free motion skills if you want to do that. If you're adding machine embroidery, once you've added all your borders, or if you only want machine embroidery along the pumpkin portion, you can stop right there once you have that first row of borders sewn on and add your embroidery to it. Then when your embroidery is complete, finish adding as many borders as you want. So again, lots of ways to personalize this, make it your own, add it to your holiday decor rotation, and you'll learn a couple of things in the process, you will learn the paper piecing. You'll get the hang of it. You'll understand how to work with that paper solvy, which is really a paper piecer's best friend. If you haven't tried it, grab some up. And again, that's going to be our giveaway today. So one lucky viewer who's watching, liking, sharing, commenting, giving me those thumbs up, the heart emojis, all those good things. As long as you're doing that and engaging with the post today, you are eligible to win a pack of Sulky Paper Solvy, so you could try it your own self. All right, so that's our pumpkin pillow. Everybody like the demo today? I want to see this all on your couches. Take a picture and put it on social media and tag us so we can see what you're making. All right. Another thing I wanted to mention before we say goodbye today is our next video cast is coming up in a few short weeks on November 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be demoing live the Wilderness Wonder applique video cast. This is on our education platform, which is sewingonline.sulky.com. If you have not done a webcast or videocast with Sulky in the past, these are fantastic interactive events where you get to see the sewing in real time. This video cast, I will be the host and instructor. So I'm going to lead you how to create these awesome works of art. If you have a hunter in the family, a nature conservationist, a animal lover, this will make a really great, beautiful, stunning Christmas gift this year, Hanukkah present, a gift to give, any time of year really, and also to display. It's going to look like a professional did this, and you are going to get all the secrets during the video cast. So you can register for this now. If you go to sulky.com, you can click on that little pop-up that looks exactly like this and head on over and register for the video cast. You'll get a reminder right before we're going to go live so that you won't miss a minute of the action. And if you cannot attend live, this event turns into an on-demand event that you can watch at any time. So after we go live, it takes a few minutes and then the video will pop up for you and you'll be able to watch it at your leisure. So we're going to create these large-scale animal appliques, and all these pieces are pre-printed onto the fabric yardage. I know. You don't have to mess around with tracing all the pieces, cutting them all out, fusing all the fusible web, blah, 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 to these tiny little pieces. The fabric yardage is pre-cut. I'm going to show it to you right now. I have it behind me. Bear with me. I'm going to put this back on the screen so you don't have to look at the back of my body while I'm finding it for you. But I have to show you because that's the only way you're going to understand what I'm saying here. So with the kit for this, and you can choose deer, elk, or moose, okay? You will get a pre-printed fabric panel that has all the pieces you need for your chosen applique already on the color it needs to be, outlined, label right next to it, so you can simply start cutting out the rectangles of each color, fuse your fusible web, cut them out, and assemble it all. I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to show you applique techniques. We're going to master some stitches on the sewing machine. You can use stitches that you've never used before, all those decorative stitches that we hardly ever use. This is the great project for it. I'm going to go over quilting techniques. I'm going to show you how to do free motion stippling. We're going to talk about micro stippling. Oh my gosh, so many things to learn in this. So it's a great, great value. You also get a free machine embroidery design when you sign up. It's called Antler Antics, and it's a great little antlered animal, along with all the pre-printed pieces on your fabric panel. There's also a cute little quilt label. So if you're creating a larger quilt, or if you're creating a smaller pillow and making this into a gift for somebody, you can use this handmade quilt label, add your machine embroidered little antlered animal, a little message, or made with love from Ellen, whatever you want to put on here. So just a little bonus on your fabric panel. So Ashley Huff, many of you might know Ashley from the National Quilters Circle or National Sewing Circle. She's a really fantastic educator. She created these patterns for Sulky, and they're just so fun to put together. I have made a pillow. I've made a quilt. There's lots of project inspiration I'm going to give you, but we're really going to focus on the techniques of using these panels, creating stunning applique pieces. I mean, again, these are like quilt museum worthy. You are going to feel so accomplished and like you just catapulted into advanced quilter status. If you've never done quilting before, you could create this as an applique. You don't even have to turn it into a quilt. Again, I will go over lots of inspiration for using these, but the kits are already on sale at sulky.com. We also have the panels that you could buy separately. We have the quilt patterns you could buy separately. We have a curated special thread pack, but if you want to get everything all at once, including the brand new Sulky fusible web, which is included in these kits, it's called Perfect applique. I am going to show you how awesome this fusible web is. I've been so excited to tell you that Sulky finally has a fusible web. Good quality fusible web is kind of hard to find, I must say. So, really exciting stuff. I hope you all sign up for the video cast. Again, I linked directly to it in the description of today's post. So you can click on that little see more button and go and register right for the video cast so that you are ready. You got your freebie. You can get your kit. You can make sure it arrives on time. Make sure you look over the shipping options when you grab up your kit. Because, as you know, the mail system right now is bonkers. So we've put up several shipping options so that you can decide when you want to receive your kit. Make sure you have it in time for the video cast. If you want to review it while you're watching me do the sewing, it's not meant as an actual sew along because let's face it, we would be here until next week or a few days. But at any rate, you don't have to have it on hand during the video cast. Some people like to have it so they can kind of look at it while they're watching me and maybe get a couple of things done. But you don't have to have your kit when you watch. But again, I'm just saying it's already on sale. We want to make sure people are getting things in a timely manner, or at least, you know, that it's not taking a month to arrive. Because again, man, the postal system is going crazy. All right. Yay, fusible web from Sulky. I know. I've been alluding to this for like almost 6 months because, you know, I always spill the beans here at So What when we've got something new and on the horizon. So someone is saying, how much is the kit? And I believe, okay, I don't want to misspeak because sometimes I get, you know, the change. Sometimes I mix that up. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. Wilderness Wonder is what it's called. You will choose from deer, elk, or moose, or obviously you can get all three. On sale for only $39.99. You get the fabric panel, you get the fusible web, and you get the pattern of your choice, and you get the 6-pack of thread. Only $39.99. It will be on sale until midnight, the night of the webinar, and then it's going to go up to retail price. So make sure you take advantage of that. It's a really, really cool thing to have all those pieces pre-printed on the fabric. You have a lot less waste. You don't have to go looking for just the right brown to create the shading on your animal. So really, really, really neat stuff. I'm going to show you more images of the moose, deer, and elk in the coming weeks on So What here. So stay tuned. Keep watching. I know, Betsy, there's a moose. It's so cool. All right. So Carla can't decide. She loves them all. Carla, for $39.99, you might just have to get all three. I'm just saying. Okay. You'll absolutely love making these. And again, it's gift giving time and gift making time. So add this to your gift making list. We'll get a start on it on November 9th, and you will definitely have a really striking piece in time to put it under the tree if that's your thing. All right. Carla is staying tuned. Thank you, Carla. I'll be showing you more sneak peeks of that, but be sure to register for that video cast today. Get it on your calendar, get the kit ordered, and we'll be ready to go on November 9th. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me on So What today. I really appreciate that you spend this hour with me every Tuesday, and I know that you have lots and lots of choices for what to watch and what to stream, so I really appreciate all the time that you all spend with me on these Tuesdays. I love that I'm starting to recognize a lot of your names and faces, and I appreciate all the interaction that we get to have. So, all right, have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next Tuesday for another So What, And be sure to hop on over to the Sulky blog to get all the how-tos and get your free pattern for the paper pieced pumpkin pillow. Here's what it looks like. All right, so grab up that download and keep it in your Sulky account for future reference and get sewing today. All right, I will see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day.